Hey guys, Mike here, and today we're going to be looking at one of my own unique project builds. I call it my version of an IAR upper receiver. As most of you probably know, IAR stands for Infantry Automatic Rifle. The point of the IAR is to have a rifle that is significantly lighter than the M249 squad automatic weapon and offers similarity to the standard M16 rifle, yet offers a much higher sustained rate of fire than the M16's 12 to 15 rounds per minute. The sustained rate of fire is defined at the rate a rifle can fire indefinitely without having overheating to the point of malfunctions. The Marines started looking for this design around 2000, but it wasn't until about 2005 before the Marines put together a list of required capabilities for this IAR design. The requirements included increased portability and maneuverability, similarity with the other squad's rifles, the ability to shoot unlinked 5.56 ammunition, and the ability to maintain a much higher volume of fire than the M4 carbine. Initially, there was a requirement for a 100-round magazine, but this requirement was dropped because of unreliability of the magazines that were available. Samples were accepted for testing from 3 different companies. FN submitted their version of a modified SCAR, HK submitted a modified HK416, and Colt actually submitted 2 different designs. Now, I've read that during the development process, Colt and Knights Armament were working together. What they chose was the modified HK416. It was designated the M27. HK took the 416, which is a piston-driven free-float upper, and they modified it by using a heavier and slightly longer barrel. With a heavier barrel, the barrel could tolerate heat better, and with a slightly longer barrel, this gave this weapon a little bit longer effective range of fire. One of Colt's designs for the IAR has started showing up on the commercial market. It's a DI-driven, modified 6940 monolithic upper. Colt added a heavy barrel, a slightly longer barrel, and a very large, bulky heat sink to try to manage the problems of overheating. This was very intriguing, but it has a price tag of $2,000. And I suppose if you're an avid Colt collector, then you might consider that. But it was a little pricey for me. But then what got me started on this project was when I ran across these babies on Gunbroker. This is the Knights Armament heat rail system, and I suspect this is probably left over from the IAR trials. They're being sold by a liquidation company, and they're available for around $300. Here's the handguard. Very interesting design. The top comes off. This is designed to actually fit on the proximal end of the barrel. The inside diameter is 0.90 inches exactly. It secures to the barrel with these bolts and plate. It's obviously designed for a carbine length gas system. My goal with this build is to start with this Knights Armament heat tolerant handguard and build an upper receiver. I'm going to use a piston system, since a piston system inherently runs cooler than a DI system, and in fact the Marines chose a piston system when they chose the HK design. The third aspect is to use a heavy, longer barrel than what's typically found on an M16 carbine. And lastly, I want to spend a whole lot less than $2,000. So here are the major components I'm using with this build. We've got the Knights handguard. I'm going to use the Superlative Arms adjustable gas piston kit. If you guys are familiar with my channel, you know that I've done a lot of looking and testing with this design. This is a unique bleed-off design which I think is going to contribute to the overall performance of this upper build. The barrel I've chosen, I had to look around. Remember that the proximal barrel has to be 9/10 of an inch in diameter. And most heavy barrels are a little bit less than 9/10 of an inch. So this is the barrel I picked. This is a Bear Creek Arsenal. It's a 223 Wild Chamber, 1-in-7 twist. And it has a melanite treated bore and outside. I had to send the barrel to be turned down to exactly 9/10 of an inch diameter so that it would fit on the handguard. Once the handguard is mounted to the barrel, there are two of the bolts that are going to attach the handguard to the barrel, and I need to go ahead and make two little grooves where these bolts go. Here's what I use to do that. It's just a drill press, a real nice vise, and a 3/8 of an inch ball end mill. Here are the two grooves that I cut for the securing bolts on the handguard. You could even do this by hand if you were patient. There's no reason why you couldn't do this with a round file and a lot of time and elbow grease. Then I'm going to go ahead and just use a Cerakote flat dark earth upper receiver, and I think we'll finish it off with this Smith Vortex flash hider. One thing Superlative Arms has started doing, which is new for them, is they do include a little steel collar where the op rod goes through the upper receiver and then a tool to put the collar in. I chose to use a mid-length gas system over the carbine gas system, and as I put together the build, it'll become clear why I did that. You can have the contouring of the barrel done by a local machine shop if you have someone you can trust, or you can send it to a company like ADCO. We'll put a little aeroshell grease on the threads. And we'll fit the barrel to the upper receiver. Nice and snug. We'll use our trusty reaction rod. Torque down the barrel nut and check for the alignment. Next we have to secure the handguard. It's a very snug fit, very precise. And line it up with our cuts. Here's the plate and the two screws to anchor the handguard. It goes right in place. Now I'm just going to start these, and then after I start them, I'll make sure that my alignment of the handguard is squared up well. Okay, now let's just take this off and look real carefully. I like the way this is lining up, so I'm going to go ahead now and just snug down these bolts. I'm going to go ahead now and install the collar. Could have done this before I barreled the upper receiver. Okay, now the collar is installed in the upper receiver. Now I won't go over all the details of installing this Superlative Arms piston kit. If you want to see those and you haven't seen them before, you can look at my channel and I go over the details of installing this, but I do want to hit the very high points. You remove the gas plug. Take the op rod without the spring in place, put it in the gas block. Then it's critical to screw the gas plug all the way in until it bottoms out. With the gas plug bottomed out, then we're going to take the upper receiver and we're going to put the bolt carrier without any other parts, hold it fully flush to the front of the upper receiver, and then we're going to use the gas block, put the gas block in position, and then we're going to butt up the op rod to the bolt carrier, and that is going to determine what level this is going to go from a forward and aft position. Now to show that briefly, what I've done is I've got the bolt carrier in the upper. I'm holding it with my thumb forward, and then we're going to push against the bolt carrier, and you can see the gap. Usually I set these for DI systems at about 30 thousandths. So what I'm going to do at this point is I want to just measure that gap, and I'll use that measurement to know where to set this gas block. Then we'll center it, leave that gap in place, and then we can finish our installation. Okay, the gap measured out at 18 thousandths of an inch. So that's what I'll use when I install the gas block. Alright, I've installed the gas block with my 18 thousandths gap. Tried to line it up and center the op rod. Now you can test it. The op rod moves freely. Now the piston system is installed. Next we just need to install the top of the handguard. It comes with 4 screws. So we'll secure that now, and then we'll put our muzzle device on, and then we'll look at the build up close. Okay, let's put our muzzle device on. Alright, here's my upper receiver with the Vortex flash suppressor. This is an 18-inch barrel, very heavy, a straight 9/10 of an inch diameter from the gas block back. So I want to talk just a minute about why I went with a mid-length system, why I went with a piston system, and why I went specifically with this Superlative Arms bleed-off system. So you can see, even though this handguard was designed for a carbine length system, if I put a gas block in, I would have a problem with clearance on the bottom. This is the metal of the handguard is very close to the barrel at 9/10 of an inch. And so the way I've got it now, the gas block is just in front of the handguard. Now, the neat thing about this piston system is all of the gases that are driving this system will be leaked out of the exhaust ports. And we have an exhaust port here, and here there's not a port in the bottom. And so the gases are going to be blowing out and away from the barrel. There will be some gases maybe leaking right around where the op rod comes out. And then the excess gas will be coming out of the exhaust port in the front of the gas block. So you have a lot of the extra gases and driving gases just going away from the barrel and not going into the upper receiver. And I think actually having this cutout here, which was for the front sight base, fits perfectly with this Superlative Arms piston system. There won't be any of this excess gas blowing out under the handguard itself. It'll be exhausting directly into the atmosphere, keeping the dirt and the heat away from the system. Now, to finish up the bolt carrier group for the piston system, I used this Hydrofire roller cam pin. This is a second one that I am testing to try to test to failure, and I have this Sharp's Rifle Reliabolt that I'm also wanting to test to see if I can get that to fail. Alright, I finished out this build by mating it with my lower that has the Echo trigger installed, and then topped it off with the Primary Arms red dot. Now, in reading about this handguard, I heard that one issue that was found with this handguard was that it was just a little bit complicated to install and uninstall for the military. But I think for us hobbyists, it certainly is a fun handguard to try to do a build with. I know a build like this isn't for everyone, but I hope you found this interesting. It's fun to put together something that's your own design. And there are a lot of options and variations you can choose from to build your own upper. If you have any questions or comments, please post those and I'll try to respond to those in a timely fashion. Stay tuned as we take this upper receiver out at Bullet Creek and put it through its paces, and let's see how it functions in the field. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.